Hello, welcome to InSight. I'm Wendy Brokaw. There was a time 100 years ago when the making of a shawl required the shearing of sheep, carding of wool, spinning the yarn, and dyeing it before it ever made its way to market and into the hands of a weaver. Well, this is a time-honored process. It's being celebrated at Willamette Heritage Center on its 38th annual Sheep to Shawl event, Saturday, May 4th from 10 to 4. Here to tell us all about it is Stephanie Meeks, Willamette Heritage Center Marketing and Communications Specialist, inviting everyone to this woolly wonder. Sheep to Shawl. Tell us, what goes on? Start us. What is the process?
Well, it is a fabulous event. I got to experience it for the first time last year, and it was amazing. For me, the first stop is the animals, because who doesn't love sheep? And some of them are young lambs, not baby lambs, but you know, almost teenagers maybe. And we also have goats that come, and sometimes a llama visits also. Just depends on the year. So we have that, and then a couple times throughout the day we have our shearer shear some sheep, and he shears the Romney sheep, and watching that is incredible. It was the first time I saw it was last year, and I was a little bit like, oh my gosh, you know, but they just like, all right, take it off. They're fine. They get all their winter coat off, if you will, and then they got a fresh spring summer cut to regrow all that fleece for next time, so we can get more fleece. This
is not a on-demand shearing with sheep, is it?
No, they don't go up and say, hey, shear me. They don't do that, but
it's a seasonal thing, isn't it?
It's a seasonal thing, yeah. So once they get shorn in the spring, then they grow it all summer, winter long, and then next spring we shear them again.
Is it hard to find sheep ready to be shorn for this event?
We have a wonderful farm, our Ironwater Ranch, that comes every year, and they are amazing. They even have events at their farm so that people can learn about sheep and see lambs. It's great. I've gone a couple times.
So what can people expect when they go to this event? You have the live animals and the shearing demonstrations, but you can also experience living history.
Yes. So, yeah, you can do the living history, which I would suggest that after or at some point you see the sheep shearing, and then it's like, well, what do they do with all that fleece? It's super dirty from being out in the wild all winter, summer long, so it's full of bugs and debris. So it has to get teased and get all those things out. So after the sheep have been shorn, you want to see where they take care of all the bugs and the debris that's gone into the sheep. And since the event is free for everyone, you can take a tour, do a self-guided tour of the museum. So it would be a really good idea to check out the picker house, where they do all that picking, and then they do the cleaning of the fleece, and they explain the whole process of what it used to be like. And then after it's been cleaned, then they dye it, so we have all the nice fun colors. So then it goes to the carding. So that happens up on the second floor of the woolen mill. And you go up there and you see the carding. It's where you take all the fleece and you brush it apart so you get the nice even fibers, so that they can then be spun into yarn.
Ah, yeah. So that's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. And then after that, it gets put on the loom. And then if the loom is we have a demonstration loom. And if the loom is having a good day, you'll be able to see exactly how those looms worked back in the day. It's an original loom. I don't know if it's original, but it's a loom from that time. And like I said, if it's having a good day, there will be people there to do demonstrations on it and let everybody see how it worked. And then they used to take all the fabric that came off of the loom, and they would inspect it and everything, and then they'd roll it on a bolt. And then it would go down a trap door to the first floor of the mill building.
Oh my.
Yeah, and that's where you continue your tour, but I suggest you take the stairs. Yeah, or you can take the elevator if you need to, but the stairwells in the mill building are really something that I really enjoy. I don't know why, they're they're just great. And then you go down through the bottom, the first floor, and that's where we'll have some, the second floor will also have some living history people. Fanny Kay will more than likely be there. She was the daughter of Thomas Kay. And downstairs we'll also have living history people, people that can explain what they did with the fabric once it came down, because there's a whole process and you can learn about that down there. And yeah, they're dressed in period clothing. It's always really fun.
It's so interesting talking about a family-owned and operated business there, run by Thomas Kay and his family, and it closed in 1962. Why was that?
Well, so during World War II, they were running 24 hours a day. They had 3 shifts of people, and they made blankets and jackets and all those things for the military. Well, after World War II was the introduction of synthetic fibers.
Oh.
Yes. And, you know, wool is a little scratchy, so it's not that great for clothing. And, you know, with the washing machines coming about, you throw a wool sweater in the washing machine and it comes out this small, right? So it wasn't very convenient. So synthetic fibers were the choice for making clothing, and eventually they just ran out of business because people weren't buying. They made wool blankets for a while, but that didn't sustain the business.
So how was the tradition passed on?
Well, Fanny Kay and her husband, C.P. Bishop, they left the Thomas Kay Woolen Mill at some point, and their sons went to college, and then they decided that they wanted to also run a woolen mill like their grandfather did. And so Fanny Kay and her husband sent them to the Philadelphia Textile Institute, and they were the first class there, and they learned all sorts of fun things. And when they came back, Mom and Dad bought them a mill out in Pendleton. Yeah,
Ooh.
lucky, right?
Yeah.
And so they used a special kind of loom called a jacquard loom. I don't remember the details, but a special kind of loom, and that's how Pendleton started, is from the sons of Fanny Kay and C.P. Bishop. Yeah, and it's still living, so they must be doing something right.
There was a little controversy, I understand, within the family with Fanny Kay and her brother or father?
Yeah. So when Thomas Kay passed away, he left the mill, of course, to the son, because back then, Victorian times, you don't leave things to women, right? And Fanny Kay was very active in the community and perhaps outspoken. I don't know the history 100%, but something along those lines. And her brother said, you know, really would like for you to just let me take care of this. And so Fanny Kay and her husband left of dealing with the Thomas Kay Woolen Mill.
Oh, there's so many stories surrounding family-owned businesses,
right?
And this was one I did not know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stephanie, what brings people to Willamette Heritage Center?
So they come to learn about local history. They come to see the changing exhibits that we have. Right now we have the Pacific Northwest's Community Coral Reef Project. It's a coral reef all hand knitted by many community members. It's amazing. If you haven't seen it yet, you should go see it. It's great. So they come for those changing exhibits. They also come to do research, and we have a research and archive library on the property. And you can go online and fill out a thing, I want to research this, and then they make an appointment with you. You can come and do that.
And you happen to have two of the oldest standing wooden structures in the Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
Tell us about those.
Yes, we have the Boone House and the Jason Lee House, as well as the parsonage and the Pleasant Grove Church. So those are all historic homes from pioneer times, and they all have different displays, exhibits in them that you can view. A lot of them celebrate the diversity that we have or haven't had in the Willamette Valley, and you can learn about some of the history behind the Kalapuya and the land in there as well. And people also come for events. People like to have their weddings there, either in the Pleasant Grove Church or in our dye house. And we have so many school groups that come and tour and take lessons about either pioneer times or learn about the Industrial Revolution in the Thomas K. Woolen Mill. And we have classes, like food preservation classes and classes for kids. So people come for all sorts of things, and it's, you know, a great community gathering place.
Tell us what else we can expect at the Sheep to Shawl event.
Oh, there's so much more that happens at Sheep to Shawl. So we have lots of kids activities, and we have the Marion County Dairy Princess, and she churns butter, and then you get to sample fresh butter. That's amazing. And so we also, one of the kids activities is that you can go to our information booth, and you can bet on a rubber ducky. And then a few times throughout the day, we take those rubber duckies and we line them all up on the bridge across the Mill Creek, mill race, and we knock them off, and then we watch them go down the mill race, and whichever duck gets to the other bridge first is the winner. It's super fun. It's super fun. And then, of course, the winner gets a trophy. This is one of this year's trophy. So, I mean, I may need to bet on a few rubber duckies this time. Yeah.
Oh, kids must absolutely love that.
Oh, yes, they love it. They run up and down the mill race bank, and they're like, come on, come on. It's great.
And are there lawn games that like used to be played back in the old days?
Yes, there are lawn games. We have a giant checkerboard. I know they have cornhole, and I'm not sure what else we have, but we'll have a few other things, I'm sure.
Give us a sense of what we can look forward to this year.
So besides just taking the tour and seeing the shearing, the important part is, like, what do we do with that yarn that's been created? And that you get to see in our dye house.
Really?
Yeah, so in our dye house, we have the Salem Fiberarts Guild, who normally works the floor looms up on the 4th floor in the Thomas K. Woolen Mill, which anytime that you come and tour, most of the time they're up there, and they love visitors, and they love to kind of show you what it is that they do and how it works. But on Sheep to Shawl Day, everybody comes down to the dye house, and then we have people doing spinning, so you can see how fleece is spun by hand. So not the Industrial Revolution way that you see in the Thomas K. Woolen Mill, but more of the homesteading way, if you will, the older way. They show you how they spin the roving into wool. Then we have knitters, we have crocheters, we have rug hookers, we have, of course, the loom weavers, and yeah, it's amazing. And the lace makers. The
lace makers?
Yes, the Portland Lace Society is also there, which they're also on the 2nd floor of the mill building the 2nd Saturday of every month. So if you're really interested in seeing that, you can just stop by. They'd love to share what it is they do and how it works. Yeah, and you just walk through the dye house, and it's amazing. It's great.
What's key to why Willamette Heritage Center is continuing to thrive after all this?
I think it's because we're a community gathering place. You know, we people that get married there, they maybe came on a tour from high school. And they're like, oh, I love this place. I want to get married here. It's such a great ambiance. And then, of course, you know, they want to celebrate their anniversaries there, or that they bring their kids to take a tour. So, you know, we're all about connecting generations, and that's just one way that we do that.
Tell us what else we can expect
and we
at the Sheep
host
to
a lot
Shawl
of
event.
events for the community. A lot of nonprofits come and have their events in our space. So it's a great community gathering place.
It is rather an oasis, a 5-acre oasis in the middle of an urban setting.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
A trip back in time.
Yeah.
Oh, Stephanie, thank you so much for being our guided tour.
Of course,
taking
of
us on a
course.
guided tour through the Willamette Heritage Center and sheep to shawl. Facts I
Yes.
didn't know about sheep.
Yeah, and it's May 4th.
Yes.
From Saturday, May 4th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and it's fun.
Well, thank you so much for being my guest today on InSight.
Perfect.
And thank you for joining us today on InSight. I'm Wendy Brokaw. We'll see you next time. And at Sheep to Shawl.
And it's Sheep to Shawl.
Spinning and weaving are ancient arts, and Salem Fiberarts Guild is dedicated to support, promotion, and celebration of fiber arts in the Salem area and beyond. Today, members are at the Willamette Heritage Center working with what starts as clean, raw fibers and turns into beautiful woven fabrics. So where do natural fibers to make yarn come from? There are plant fibers like cotton and bamboo. Wool comes mostly from sheep, mohair from Angora goats, alpaca from alpacas, close relatives of camels, and silk is a protein made from certain insect silk glands. How do you get raw wool ready to be turned into yarn? Diane Mosier explains.
These are locks of mohair. So when you shear an animal, and there are lots of different animal fibers, but like I said, this one's mohair, you get these locks, and there'll be a cut end and the tip end, and you want to put them all the same direction when you're processing them. The first thing you do is you're going to wash them. You're going to get out the lanolin and the vegetative matter as much as you can. There may be some left over in it. And then you're going to have to open up the lock, and you do that using various kinds of combs. These are called hand carders. And this is a little flicker, and so basically you're going to open up the fibers, and as you can see, when I do that, it opens up all of these nice little fibers, and then you're going to process those fibers either into roving or into like a bat like this. And once you do that, then you can start making pretty things with it. So in this case, I've taken this, and I've taken this, and I have combined them on here. And this is called a blending board. This is one type of carder. And after I do that, and I fill it up, I put on these little drumsticks here, and I lift it off of here like this, and I turn it into a bat. This is called a bat, and I made this bat with it by blending it on this board, and I ended up making this thread with it.
But then how was roving and batting turned into yarn? Renee McLeish takes us through it.
Hello. So I am spinning. I am taking what we call roving, and so this is a combination of merino wool, and this merino wool comes from wool from a sheep, and the white that you see in here is actually a blend of bamboo plant fiber that's in here. So this is commercially done. This was done by a local farm, and they dyed it, and I bought it like this. I like the process of it. When I first started to spin, everybody asked, what are you going to do with all this yarn that you make? And I said, I have no idea. I don't know how to knit. I don't know how to weave. I just want to make yarn. I just love the process of taking this stuff, putting it in a spinning wheel, and coming up with yarn, and kind of getting it to the thickness that I want, or thinness in this case. And as I release my left hand, the twist goes into the yarn. I pinch it with my left hand, I pull back with my right, let go with my left, and this twist goes on. And then as I gently release it, the bobbin, the action of the bobbin kind of pulls the thread onto the bobbin. And then I can add on some more. So I'll take another piece of roving that I've drafted out, start my wheel spinning around, and just kind of overlap the two ends. And the two ends, the twist puts the wool together and holds it together into a single of yarn. It takes a while to learn. It's not hard. It's just like anything else. It comes with practice. It took me, I would say about a month and a half worth of weekly lessons to go through. I learned from a master spinner years and years ago. And she was great with all the different techniques and things. I will probably make this into a 2-ply. And so for an example, that means what I'll do is I'll take 2 singles and put those together into a 2-ply yarn. And I will have 2 bobbins of singles and put it together. But that will give me an idea of what it will look like in terms of the thickness of the yarn. And I kind of like that. And I'm going to use this for a weaving project to make a table runner at some point.
Setting up the loom to weave is next. Cecilia Qualls says how you do it depends on your pattern.
I am making a baby blanket for a family member, and it's going to be in what's called M's and W's, which is a really old weaving pattern. It's been around probably for hundreds of years. This is the picture of it in pink and blue, and I'm doing it in blue and yellow. And I'm just getting it wound onto the warp in the back now. I've got my 4 yards of I think there's 600 and I can't remember how many threads that I'm winding onto the back beam. And then once I've got this is called a rattle with all these little pegs on it. This has helped keeping the warp the width I need for it to wind. Otherwise it would be winding on in a narrower kind of lump of fiber that would not work. And so I need to keep it the width I want to make the blanket so that I can then thread it through the heddles, thread it through a reed, which is on the beater bar, and tie it on the front so that I can start weaving. That is the process of weaving. When I first started, it was the actual weaving, throwing the shuttle back and forth and that thing. But over the years, as you get more and more comfortable, it just sort of becomes part of what knowing the steps without having to think about them too hard. It's complex in terms of just tracking your pattern, and you use what I have a tracking system that I use, so I know I think there was 32 treadle changes to make one group of the circle with the little triangle or diamonds in the center. And so you just have to track where you're at, that's all. If you forget where you're at, you have to usually undo a little bit. But the nice thing about weaving is literally everything's fixable. If you make a mistake, it's really unusual that it's a lost cause. Almost everything is fixable in weaving. And it's an art form. I think we all have a passion for it here.
Weavers are in constant motion at their looms. Judy Walker explains the interplay between shuttles and treadles.
What I'm doing is I'm weaving a blanket, and it's going to be twice as wide as what you see. So I'm weaving it in a folded situation. So I'm weaving the top, the bottom, and the top. And this side is the fold, and over here you can see that it's 2 layers. I can get my hand in between it. So I do top, bottom, something like that. Get in there. And then I come back the other way, bottom and top. So when I step on the leftmost treadle, one shaft goes up. And it makes a space here. That space is called the shed, and I'm able to throw my shuttle through it. Now I step on the next treadle, and I can feel it because I don't have shoes on. That's like Braille. So I step on the next treadle, and a different combination of shafts go up and makes a different opening, and I throw my shuttle through that. A little like playing pipe organ.
The annual Sheep to Shawl event celebrates the journey of wool from sheep to shawl and the long history of the Thomas K. Woolen Mill in the heart of downtown Salem. Learn more at willametteheritage.org. Learn more about Salem Fiberarts Guild at salemfiberartsguild.org.